Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Inside Guns with your host, me, the Yankee Marshal. Today, I want to talk about a trend in society that I am finding very disturbing. And the latest example of it is the anti-abortion law in Texas. Now, the issue of abortion isn't what I'm here to talk about. I've discussed that already. I think most people know where I stand on that. What I want to talk about is the law itself, and how it's just another in a long list of things in this country that are being designed to condition citizens to obey the powers that be, to narc on their neighbor. You know, it's the whole see something, say something. And I'm not saying people shouldn't be good citizens, but it goes beyond that. It has gone to where government has said, hey, we don't think these people should be doing these things and we think you agree with us, so if you see them do it, you tell us. Not if someone's being harmed, step in and help them. You tell us if someone's doing something that we all collectively disagree with. It became really apparent that this country was moving in that direction right after 9/11. You know, the anniversary of 9/11 is coming up. The Patriot Act was all about if you see something, say something. People are suspects even if they haven't done anything serious. If you just suspect something, you should tell the government. You should tell law enforcement. And it is just a way to condition people to obey and cooperate. I mean, how long will it be till the ATF is saying, if you see somebody at the range who you think's gun is questionable, get their license plate number, turn them in. It's that kind of thinking. It's the whole, we've got problems with dissidents in this country right now. So if you see people of this type, gathering together in groups, or you see them at a gun shop or at a range, let us know so we know what they're up to. That's what all these are about. This law in Texas, I don't really have a dog in the fight, or at least not a pregnant dog in the fight, as far as the abortion thing goes. But the way these laws are written, that it's up to fellow citizens to turn on the other citizens, turn them in, sue them, etc., that's garbage. That's like red flag laws. That's like when they want a neighbor to say something if you think your neighbor's dangerous. Or, hey, if you think your second cousin has political opinions that would lead him to be dangerous, you need to tell somebody. That's what this is all about. And I don't like how so many people don't seem to notice that. It seems like a lot of people on the right are fine with what's going on in Texas or the Patriot Act, as long as it's taking out the right people. When we on the right, and I'm not on the right, I'm kind of in the middle, but everyone from middle to right, in fact, as far as I'm concerned, everyone from left to far right should be really worried about this condition to obey stuff. And this, let's turn citizens against each other. Because it's about, like I said, conditioning to obey and conquer and divide. That's the second aspect of it. If they keep us fighting with each other, then they don't have to worry about us paying attention to what they're doing. And it's not just government, it's big industry. Big industry's done this for a long time. I know people now who are working from home because of the coronavirus. Their companies make them install a program on their laptop or their computer that takes their picture every 2 minutes. And whoever's working in that group, because they work in like these online groups, there's a string of pictures that cycles through at the top, and it's pictures of your coworkers. And you are encouraged and given incentives to snitch if you see a coworker who's away from his desk for too long, or has maybe dozed off, or looks like they're doing something different, like you saw in the reflection of their glasses that they were looking at, cars online. Snitch on your fellow employee for favor with your bosses. And that's what it's like with these other laws. It's like, get favor with the government. And like I say, I know it's real easy to sit back and say, well, we need to get involved. Yeah, if you see somebody being harmed, help them. If you see someone being a danger, a clear and evident danger, step in if you have to. Maybe alert authorities if they're presenting a clear and present danger. Not just because they're doing something you might not agree with politically. Like you don't like someone who does this, or you don't like someone who does that. Like, I'm reporting them because they're Mormons. You know what? What's next? The whole abortion thing, the only problem I have with that law is how it's setting people against other people, and it's allowing people that have no real knowledge of other people's lives to put them through these exhaustive court cases, ruin their lives over a feeling that they're doing something they don't like. That's just like fucking red flag laws. And I can't support that. And I can't support it for multiple reasons, but one of which is because, like I said, it's part of this whole new thing in our society of see something, say something, cooperate with government. Your fellow citizen is the enemy. I don't like that stuff. There are a lot of people that do things I don't agree with. I don't think I should turn them into the government, especially when I don't really know what's going on. You know, I might see a house that lives down the street from me that's like, wow, they're getting a lot of weird traffic at all hours right now. They're probably selling drugs. I should call the police. What if they're not selling drugs? What if they're a masseuse? They work out of their home. Unless they're doing something clearly dangerous to me, why would I get involved in that? Unless they're harming my way of life, why would I care? But like I say, we're being conditioned. If you see anything suspicious, say something. And that's going to bite us in the ass. And you might say, well, it's only for people who do certain really bad things. Well, you know, who determines what those bad things are? Because eventually those bad things become something you do that you don't think is that bad. It's kind of like people in Afghanistan who they're okay with throwing gay people off a building or stoning women who speak out against their husband or something. They're okay with that. They're okay with all kinds of violence and discrimination and hatred until a group gets in power that's just a little bit more religious than they are and decides you people don't get to live either because you're not religious enough, you're not pious enough. And then they're like, oh, I'm the victim, oh my God. That's kind of what some people who support these things like the Patriot Act, etc., end up being. Eventually it comes around to you. So I think we need to stop this and we need to be vocal against this. When someone says, see something, say something, say, how about mind your own fucking business? You know, how about you not worry about what everybody else is doing in their life unless they're harming you? If they're not hurting anyone, and a lot of these things are victimless crimes that they want you to report things on. I'm not saying abortion is. Depends on what you consider life there. That's your own perspective. But a lot of things are victimless crimes that they want you to say something about. I think that's just ridiculous. Like, I would never turn in someone, like if I know someone, and every day I get this probably. Pretty much every day I get a question from someone that basically says, hey, I've broken the law. And do I turn those people? Should I say something because I heard something? Should I call the ATF? No, of course I shouldn't. Should mind my own fucking business. Just like anybody else should mind their business about what I'm doing here in my house. But like I say, we're being conditioned. Obey, curry favor, do as you're told, step in line. Keep fighting the enemy, and that enemy is your neighbor. You never know who it is. That's what's been going on in this country, and it's been going on too long. So I just wanted to talk about that tonight, especially with what's going on in Texas, because I think a lot of people are missing the point down there. It isn't about the issue to me. I think that should be a state-by-state issue as far as I'm concerned. It's about how they're going about it in the most devious way they possibly could. All right, everybody, with that being said, I want to move on to my favorite part of the show, and that is gun talk. And today I want to answer a question from a viewer. This viewer asked me, why are revolvers so much more expensive than semi-autos? Well, first off, I want to say, one of the reasons is because they're far superior. That's pretty much obvious. That's one of the most obvious answers. But I also want to say, it's kind of misleading to say that because not all revolvers are really expensive. You can get good priced revolvers just like you can get good priced semi-autos. There are decent revolvers in the 350 range, just like there are good semi-autos in the 350 range. There's good semi-autos in the 250 range, but, you know, making a comparison apples to apples here, trying to. The reason why, let's just say, a moderate level revolver is more expensive than a moderate level handgun has a lot of factors to it, beyond being a superior gun. And I don't think they're talking about when they say why are revolvers so expensive, like why is a Manhurin, or Manhurin, as I like to say, why is that so expensive? Or why is a Korth so expensive? Or Court, as some people like to say, but those people are wrong because we won the war. We decide how the alphabet is pronounced, so it's Korth. Why are those so expensive? Well, because those are very refined. That's like saying, why is a Corvette more expensive than a Chevette? If anybody out there is old enough to remember Chevettes, or Chevets, as we used to always call them, because that's how you got them down the road, is you shoved it. But some guns are just higher end. But I think what he means is, why are just like a common, like a Smith & Wesson 686, why is that more than a Glock? Well, there's lots of reasons. One is there's more expensive production materials there. There's usually a lot more metal in there. So just the cost of materials is higher usually on them. Polymer's cheap. So production cost higher. But it's only a little bit higher, not much. You got to think, when you think the retail price of a gun, the production value of that gun is, materials cost is very little of the price. But polymer guns are cheaper to make. Another is revolvers are usually a little more difficult to make. They're a little more refined. So production time is a little longer, and time is money, so that's another addition to it. Also, they're harder to make. Not just harder to make, but harder to sell, because there's less demand for them. So when companies decide, well, we've got two lines running, should I run one line running revolvers and one line running semi-autos, or should I just run semi-autos on both? The semi-autos are cheaper to make, we can make more of them faster, and we can sell them faster. So that's more profit back into our pockets. If they decide, well, we're going to make revolvers this week on one of the lines, they factor in, it's probably going to take us 3 months to sell all the revolvers we make this week, instead of having that money come right back into our pockets. So we need to price them higher. And since there's fewer of them on the market, the people who actually want them are going to be willing to pay more for them, because you don't see them all the time. Sometimes they only have a run once a year. So they take that into account too. They take into account it's going to take longer to sell them because there's fewer people who want them. But since there's fewer of them, the people who want them are going to be willing to pay more money for them. It just might take them time to get to it. So they take all that stuff into account. They decide we can make more profit just by cranking out polymer guns. But every now and then we'll put out some revolvers, because that's what a lot of people want from us, because that's what we're known for, and we don't want to, completely not become revolver makers. Like I'm looking at you, Smith & Wesson. So they'll put runs out every now and then, but when they make those runs, they know materials cost a little more, manpower is a little more, takes a little more time, and once that product is done, that week's worth of product isn't going to sell in a day, like the semi-autos did. It's going to take a while. So they have to know that money's going to take longer to come back, so they want more money coming back off of each one, because they don't want to wait for that profit to come back into the company. And it generates more profit that way over the long term, but it doesn't put them in a cash crunch at the beginning. So like you can see there, lots of different factors. Materials, they do cost a little more material-wise. Like say if a polymer gun costs $50 to make, it's probably $65 for a revolver. If it takes 20 minutes of manpower to make a semi-auto, it probably takes 30 of manpower to make a revolver. And these aren't actual numbers. I'm just giving you references here. I don't know how fucking long it takes to make one or put it together. Once it comes off the line, I don't know that. I've never done that for a living. But like I say, they'll add all those things up and they'll say, and plus, not only does it cost more to make it in parts, and not only does it take more time to make it, but once it's on the market, it's going to be a slower return on our investment, and they're not going to sell as quickly. It's just makes us more profit to just crank out revolvers. And to crank out semi-autos. And since we're making so many of them, we can actually afford to make less per gun on that. Like if you have to make $100 profit on a revolver to make it worthwhile, because of how few you sell so many of the semi-autos, you can make 20 off of each one and still make more money profit overall than you do off the revolvers, because you sell so many more of them. So it's just lots of factors. And revolvers being the far superior guns, just one of the factors. The other is it just costs more to make them, takes longer to sell them, and there's fewer of them, so the people who want them are willing to pay a little more for them. And that's why revolvers usually cost more than semi-autos. All right, everybody, I want to end the show today by answering a question I get all the time, and that is, how do I contact you? How do I contact you? And I think that's funny because I'm probably the easiest to get a hold of person on YouTube. Not by emails or anything like that, because I get some emails, I hardly see any of them. If I'm not searching for it, probably not seeing it. But I do a live chat every day. If you need to get a hold of me, come into the live chat. Even if you don't want to have an open discussion, you just want me to read an email you sent, come to the live chat, say, I sent you an email. That's the best thing you can do. If you want to talk to me, come to the live chat. There's one every day. There's one at 6 p.m. Pacific time every day, except for Mondays and Wednesdays when it's at 5 p.m. Pacific time. That's West Coast time, by the way, for those of you that are like, which ocean is which? So if you want to get a hold of me, if you've got something you want to say to me, whatever, come to the live chats. The only things I really search for in the emails is like slap the yank, stuff like that. And, the pet things, when I ask you to send in your rescued pet, when I ask you to put in your viewer EDC, I search for those things. But just general emails, I'm not going to see it unless you come into the chat and say, hey, I sent you an email from this address with this subject title. Would you check it out? And I will check it out. But that's the best way to get hold of me. Don't try emails. Don't go around saying, oh, you can't get a hold of him. I want to get on Slap the Yank, but can't get a hold of him. Anybody who wants to do Slap the Yank, if you disagree with anything I say and you're man enough to actually confront me, which most people aren't for some reason, I don't know why. I would have thought that'd be with shit I say, you'd have thought that'd be a bigger part of my show, people coming on and wanting to bitch at me, but people ain't got the balls. Come in the live chat one night. You don't have any excuse to say, I've been trying. I hear other channels all the time like, I've been trying to go and slap the yank and talk to him, but he won't. No, you haven't. Because if you were, you would come into the live chat and say, hey, this is this person, and I want to talk to you about this. Everybody would see it. I'd bring you in. I offer to let people come in the chat all the time if they want to yell at me. So if you want to contact me, live chats, people, that's the place to come. That is a daily interaction. That's why I'm there, in case you want to ask me questions, in case you want to yell at me for something or call me out on something or just get my opinion on something. Email's not the way. Come to the live chat. That's why I'm there every day, so you can have access to me. In that way, of course. That sounded, I didn't like the way that sounded, having access to me. But you know what I mean. You can talk to me. I don't want to be someone who can't be accessible. I don't want to be someone who hides behind their comment section, deletes stuff, and pretends it never happened, and pays people to go in and delete stuff out of my comments and everything, so I don't have to address things. I want to address anything you all want me to address. So if you want to get a hold of me, come into the live chats every day of the week at 6 p.m. Pacific time, except for Monday and Wednesday when it's 5 p.m. Pacific time. Come on in. Confront me, ask me a question, get my opinion on something, whatever you want to do. Just show up, let me know you're there, and, let me know what you want. All right, everybody, that's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you come back again tomorrow. And before I go here, I want to clarify one thing about the last segment I did when I said, come on in, let me know what you want. Well, not if it's take your top off, because, I get that quite a bit, and I'm not doing that. If it's 10 years ago, yeah, sure. Now, these aren't as perky as they used to be. So no, that ain't going to happen. Just don't want to get anybody's hopes up. And with that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and sign off tonight, as usual, by saying, as far as the state of the world today is concerned, it is what it is. It could be a lot worse, but it could be better. But if we come together as a community and start to ignore the fear mongers, the profiteers, the fake activists, the people who serve the industry only, not our rights, if we start to ignore those people and pay attention to the things we need to pay attention to and keep level heads about us and fight smart and hard for our rights in this country, what things will be for people who value the Second Amendment and freedom in general in the very near future is better.